Yo, welcome to Trippy Commentaries and our review of Star Wars The Force Awakens. K-Mac, this is probably the most hyped movie that I can ever remember, and for the most part, it met the hype. I think it is a good movie. Is it great? We're going to get into that here in this review.
If you're talking dollars, it's great.
Yeah, that's true.
Business is good.
I'm RJ, joining up with K-Mac for the review.
Yep.
Kyle, let's first kind of get into this with no spoilers, and then we'll break down some of the biggest aspects of the movie.
Right.
Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I'm a fan, and even though it might not be perfect, I think that it definitely does the series justice.
It definitely does, and they went out and totally redeemed themselves. We were very disappointed with the last three movies that came out.
Oh yeah.
I guess you could say 1, 2, and 3, and the series of 9. Is there a name for that? I don't know.
The terrible prequel. You talking about the entire saga altogether?
Triple trilogy.
The epic saga.
Exactly. So so it was great to have this movie kind of bring us back to the very first Star Wars we saw. A lot of similar storylines in both of those movies. But I felt that's kind of history repeating itself, and for good reason as well.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of downgrade this movie because it follows the storyline of A New Hope so closely, but that movie came out a long time ago. It was a classic movie, so if you can replicate that and do it justice, then I'm all for it. I don't care about the similarities. Yeah, you have the robots in common. R2-D2 is a lot like BB-8, but BB-8's altogether a new character, very likable, and to me, that is the strongest suit of the movie, the likable characters, which is something it has in common with A New Hope.
Yeah, there wasn't a character I didn't like in this movie, to be honest with you. I thought every one of them were great. Obviously, you had the veterans, the heavy hitters that we already knew that are in the movie, but every new character that was in the movie, I liked them.
Oh yeah.
Even Kylo Ren, which a lot of people had some had issues with,
which we'll get into.
I think the actor himself plays the role well, and pretty trippy similarity with him and Han Solo there on the cover of this.
So to finish off our initial take on this, I'm a big fan. I love the movie.
Yeah.
What about you?
I loved it too, man. It definitely met my expectations. It was great seeing it. I had to go see it a second time. It was like you had the awe of the first time seeing it, and you skip over a lot of things. So
yeah, and
had to see it a second time.
For the very few portion of you have yet to see the movie, the number one reason I would say that you're gonna like it, even if you're not a big fan of Star Wars in general, is the music. John Williams made another masterpiece here.
It was epic.
I particularly really like the theme for Rey. She's an outstanding character, so go see the movie. Absolutely great for everybody. Not only is it exciting, great graphics, good CGI with some of the Millennium Falcon fighting scenes.
It had a classic feel to it, really.
And I think it's the funniest Star Wars of all time.
Yeah, definitely a lot funnier than the others. I mean, the other ones had their moments. Han Solo liked to joke around a lot in that one.
Sure.
I thought Finn did well, and his character is definitely very likable.
All right, guys, it's time to get into spoilers. Spoiler warning, spoiler warning, spoiler warning. So the movie begins in classic Star Wars fashion.
Yeah.
The opening title crawl, it let us know that Luke Skywalker was in hiding and Princess Leia was desperately trying to find him. It was a little bit discreet, but then it panned to the opening shot of Jakku.
Yeah.
It was being overtaken by what looked to be a Star Destroyer, and it really did remind me, just like A New Hope, it showed the bad guys were coming through in force. That led to the stormtroopers taking over a Jakku village. It introduced Poe Dameron receiving some vital information. What do you think about the opening sequence to The Force Awakens?
Yeah, I liked it, and they really kept it the classic start of the movies. It's kind of how they all have been, but it looked like the stars and everything. It looked like it was almost like the original background from the original movie. It kind of looked a little bit distorted. But yeah, it was an epic scene, especially when we saw it in 3D, man. That was crazy when it comes flying in, just because the 3D gives it so much depth. But started off good and starts off right away with some action, man. It really didn't take very long. Something's going on here, and we meet Poe, who's ends up becoming kind of the hero, pilot for the Resistance.
Big time hero, as we will of course talk about. He comes through with some big time shots. He is a X-wing fighter not to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
But as far as his part early on in the movie, it was discreet. We saw him try to make an escape in the X-wing. It was shot down, so that led to his confrontation with Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren makes short work of the village elder.
Yeah.
And we have Poe trying to save the day in a way, not going to work against a guy as strong with the Force as Kylo.
And that's when we see Kylo Ren for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
He comes flying down, and it was a pretty epic scene. I like how it happened.
Great.
He comes out, he's like on a mission. He's not bullshitting. He just goes straight to the point and finds that elder and has a few words for him and kills him right away. So we're like, all right, so this guy's looking like a badass so far. This is good. And he couldn't fly away. He got his X-wing got shot by a stormtrooper and ends up getting captured. And here's where the comedy comes in the Star Wars. Poe gets brought to Kylo Ren and no one's saying anything, and he's like, so do I talk first? So you kind of start seeing a little bit of personality of Poe and kind of being that jokester kind of guy.
Yeah, so they are looking for the map to Luke Skywalker. This Kylo Ren character apparently wants to get to Luke, no doubt, to finish off The Last Jedi. I am going to get to my one major gripe in the movie, and that is, it's just odd how at the end of Return of the Jedi, the bad guys were defeated. The Empire was down, which means the good guys were in control of the galaxy. Darth Vader was at rest. The Emperor was thrown down that chasm. Well, now we move on to the newest movie, where it's the first Star Wars since Episode 6. This is Episode 7, but for some reason it goes directly from the good guys in control right to the bad guys clearly in the dominant position.
30 years later, right?
We knew leading into this movie that there was going to be a new Death Star involved as well. I thought they should have done a better job at setting us up on why the bad guys were in control. I mean, how do they have so much money to create a Death Star, to get this army that we see in the movie? Yeah, they do have the powerful character here in Kylo Ren, clearly someone not to fuck with. At the same time, I felt like they didn't do a good job at letting us know why they're back to prominence so fast.
Well, when the chosen one of the light side ends up, going rogue and living on an island by himself, it allows the dark side to take over.
I guess so.
30 years is a lot of time to build up an army.
Next, we get to an escape scene with Finn meeting up with Poe. I mean, Poe just got tortured. And it also introduced this new Force ability by Kylo Ren, the ability, I guess, to pull information from people's minds. At first, I thought Poe gave up the vital information.
Yeah.
It turned out, no. Poe held steady, and Kylo Ren used this new ability that we've never seen before.
We saw two things from him. We saw one in the village.
The ability to stop the laser.
Exactly, laser.
That was new.
When Poe shot the laser at him, he just stopped and he held it there the whole time. Didn't even went about his business. It was just chilling there.
That was awesome.
And then he let it go when he wanted to, and it blew something up. But
now the escape itself, it was kind of unique in a way. It's not how I thought it was going to go. They hop into a TIE fighter, and they have this security latch. Eventually, after doing some damage, that's when he kind of got the grasp of the blasters, and Finn started shooting some people and whatnot.
Yeah.
But eventually Poe does break loose. They get out of there, make their descent after being shot down. What'd you think about that scene? That was kind of cool. I didn't see that coming as well.
Yeah, it was pretty tight. I mean, it made sense. He's a pilot, and he obviously knows a lot about the TIE fighters, so just happened to be one chilling there. They get on it. They break off finally, and you think they're gonna get away, but then they, Kylo Ren's shoot them with whatever. They had some cannons, some blaster cannons that some major ones that kind of heat seeking, I guess, and took them out. So
now one thing that we also first noticed at this part, because Finn, he's worked on the new Death Star and whatnot, and he knows about basically what the stormtroopers have to do day to day, but at the same time, he worked in basically the garbage department.
We find out he's in sanitation at a very funny part of the movie towards the end.
So his very first time on the job as a full-scale, murdering stormtrooper, he's out there destroying these innocent people at the village.
Yeah, he doesn't. He decides not to.
Now, that shows off he's a noob. That said, he gets into the TIE fighter. He picks it up very quickly. We have Poe saying same thing as a blaster, and he's making these key shots, and it's letting us know off the bat that Finn has something going on.
Yeah, something's different about him.
He's got some intuition, much like Rey just doing things naturally. Finn also is doing things naturally.
Whenever we ever heard of a stormtrooper going rogue, that's never happened before. So something is different with him. And later in the movie, there is an interesting scene that makes you believe maybe something is more of Finn. And we still don't know where he's come from. He was obviously taken as a child from some parents and was made to be a stormtrooper and raised as a stormtrooper. So pretty interesting there that he couldn't shoot anybody and sees his buddy get killed, I guess. And
still an open-ended story with Finn.
Exactly. But I like that scene, though, because Kylo Ren knew instantly who it was because he saw the one story. They have a scene where Finn stares at Kylo Ren, and he's the only stormtrooper not running. Kylo Ren looks at him for a minute and then gets back on when they leave the planet.
Yeah.
And instantly he knew exactly. They're like, he left with a stormtrooper. He knew who it was.
Yeah. So Finn crash lands with Poe in the TIE fighter.
Yeah.
It looks at that moment like Poe is dead.
Yeah.
This TIE fighter kind of gets swallowed up by the sand with an explosion.
He goes in there. I think his jacket or something's in there.
Grabs Poe's jacket.
Gets his jacket. So he thinks he, could have possibly been there. Couldn't get in there all the way. And then, some some type of trimmer type animal that just ate him, just sucked him in.
Yeah,
anteater type thing.
It's almost like they wanted us to think Poe was dead there. I've actually heard reports that Poe was intentionally supposed to die at that part, passing on the jacket to Finn, and kind of giving us the first major character to die in the series. We learn later on that he does come back, but that said, at this point, Finn is alone, and that's where he goes and meets Rey for the first time. One character we haven't really talked too much about yet is BB-8. BB-8 currently has the crucial information given to the robot by Poe himself. So BB-8's trying to be on the lookout for Poe.
Right.
Unfortunately,
he's like Poe's assistant, pretty much.
Once they do run into to Finn, they think that Poe's dead. That said, Rey, we see the life of Rey, the life of a scavenger. It's my favorite scene in the entire movie. Really cool stuff there as she's crawling around a crashed Star Destroyer.
Yeah, it's huge. She's like, hundreds of feet in the air, just like dangling off, and moving and jumping around from pillar to pillar, and really showing her athleticism as well as her agility, and kind of being a little different than most girls at her age.
Yeah. So after that scene, she meets up with BB-8. We see some more day in the life of those guys, and even a situation where Rey almost sells BB-8. It turns out they are on the lookout for BB-8 because being able to read Poe's mind, Kylo Ren knows that that's what they need to get.
Word got out.
Yeah. So, of course, Finn, after walking through the desert looking completely hopeless, makes it to Rey and BB-8 through an exciting scene. Shows off that Rey's a badass herself. She can contend.
Yeah, that seems pretty funny because he sees her pretty much getting jumped, and he runs up to go to try to help her, and then he sees her fucking whooping ass, and he's like, oh shit. And at that time, BB-8 notices his jacket, and I guess she can understand the robot's language, so he actually tells her that he stole, his owner's jacket, and so she's now chasing his ass, trying to whip his ass, and he's running away from her because he's obviously pretty intimidated after just seeing her take out 3 guys. So.
Yeah, and of course, he knows about BB-8 because Poe told him that that's what he needs to go back to Jakku for. Finn himself was like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And of course, Poe's like, we need to go back to Jakku. And he's like, no. He's like, hey, buddy, we need to find the map to Luke Skywalker.
And he's like, oh, great.
Finn's like, oh, great. So that lets us know we're not sure of his motives. I mean, he wants to get away from the Imperials, or whatever you want to call them for this movie.
Yeah, he's scared, man. That's a good thing they put through with him. He's definitely scared. He's not a hero. He's scared, but when he's backed up, in the corner, he will fight. And then towards the end of the movie, he becomes a really, a good fighter, actually.
Rey really steals the movie.
She does.
As does BB-8, and I really like Finn as well. So early on in the movie, we need these guys to shine. And that happens. It shows off how great of characters they are.
That's what I'm saying. Every character so far, the way they introduce them in the movie, they all come across as very likable, very different from one another, unique in their own way.
Yeah, and we want to see what kind of zany adventures they get into. Now, of course, all these guys are teamed up. BB-8, Finn, Rey. That is when these guys have to deal with some serious stuff.
TIE fighters coming in.
Escaping by finding the Millennium Falcon.
That was a funny scene. I like how they introduced that because they come running. Like, he hears the TIE fighters and he knows that sound. Rey had no idea. So he's like, and he grabs her arm and takes off, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Like, she's getting pissed off that he's like trying to protect her, because obviously she knows she's been taking care of herself for a long time. So they're running, and there's like a really big plane, almost like jet, mixed with like a blimp type thing. It's pretty big, whatever it is. And she's like, "Well, escaping that," and their building behind them gets blows up that they were just inside of. And so they're running, and he's like, "Who's gonna fly?" And she's like, I'm the pilot." And he's like looking like, "What the fuck? Who's this girl?" And he's like, "What about that one over there?" And she's like, "No, that one's garbage.
That's garbage.
That thing's too slow." And she's like, "This one over here, we'll get away from." And all of a sudden, that one explodes.
That's the grand reveal of the Millennium Falcon. As at that point, they have no chance
but
to go to the garbage.
What? No, she's saying that's garbage, and we see it, and we're just like, "Oh, what?"
Classic Millennium Falcon fashion.
It was a good spin on that.
It was also genius how that was the clip that was released before the movie came out. They gave us one full clip, and it was them running towards, I think it was called the frog jumper, the Krog jumper, who knows?
Yeah, something like that.
And then it gets blown up, and that's the scene we got. Little did we know that was seconds before the introduction of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
So they escape in that. That is a great scene where they're fighting with the TIE fighters. The blaster gets jammed for Finn there, controlling the gun of the Millennium Falcon. And Rey is able to fly so well through the crashed Star Destroyer, getting him in a perfect position. Even though it's a straight shot, he lands it, and they're able to escape after destroying the TIE fighter.
This is where we really see that Rey obviously has the Force, and the Force is very strong with her. Just your average girl at this point has no idea of anything. She gets in the Millennium Falcon, gets it to start up. It has a problem. She fixes that. She, all of a sudden, like you said, their flying becomes amazing. She ends up flying through the Star Destroyer that she was working in.
Yep.
Got through that, pulled off that epic maneuver. And as she's doing this, she's like, her own expressions on her face are like, "How the fuck did I just do that?" Like, are you
They did a
me?
great job. When she first jumped into it and started flying, it was dragging on the side. She clearly was having a hard time, and there was that evolution of her getting better and better to, at the very end, doing some amazing maneuvers.
Yeah.
They escape, and the next part I'm a little bit disappointed with, as they are captured by an enemy ship. It looks to be the bad guys here. It looks to be Kylo Ren and company.
I liked this scene, actually. I mean,
well, it turned out to be somebody else. So after trying to pollute the ship with poisonous gas to kill what they think is the New Order coming aboard the ship, it turns out to be none other than Han Solo and Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Happy to be back in the Millennium Falcon.
Who are been searching for the Millennium Falcon. They've been searching all over the place to find it because it got stolen from them, and they happen to find it now. And I think it was a kind of a good introduction. Like, we didn't know, because I wasn't expecting that.
It was a surprise.
I was like, oh wow, they caught him already. How are they gonna get out of this now? And all of a sudden they come and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Oh, exactly.
Here we go. Already in the movie. They're introducing people really quick at us.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh man, Kylo Ren already caught up to Rey and Finn. Instead, those guys can't find them, but we do have Han Solo and Chewbacca able to locate the Millennium Falcon and the two heroes, and that's where they all get acquainted. We have Han Solo telling them right there that the stories they've heard about Luke Skywalker, the Force, Darth Vader, all of that is very, very true.
Yeah.
And from that point on, they have to deal with a little bit of a situation where Han Solo, I guess, owes some money. What'd you think about that? I mean, it was a little bit comical. I thought it was slightly corny, but it was still classic Han Solo.
I didn't really care for the CGI like monster thing.
Yeah, that's how they got out of it. They released monsters, and I'm with you. It just stood out too much as fake-looking monsters.
Yeah, I mean, they tried there. They tried to, do the classic Han Solo type, moment. But, yeah, I just thought the actors that they used who were, like, the bad guys, it was kind of very cheesy moment there.
I'm with you.
But classic, classic Han Solo and kind of lighten the mood up there a little bit. Obviously, I had to get away from there, but a real crucial scene again, playing along with Rey in that, is her and Finn are running away from, I forget what the hell they even call these things.
Who knows? It's some sort of ball monster with tentacles.
Yeah, one of them grabs Finn and takes off with it. Rey's freaking out. She finds a security camera that controls the doors. And she's looking on the screens and she sees her as she had, and she times it perfect to shut the door as the monster goes through it, cutting off the tentacles that were holding on to Finn and
letting us know she has Force-like abilities.
Even more things. And he's like that was perfect timing. How'd you do that? And she's like, it was luck. But obviously we know it's more than that. But she's still trying to figure out like what the fuck is going on. She doesn't know what is going on to her because, for the most part that she knows, she's a normal girl that her parents abandoned her and she's hoping they'd come back.
And it's another scene where it's showing us the connection between Finn and Rey. At first, it was a little bit awkward the way he was holding her hand trying to save the day when, hey buddy, I think you need to have her save your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
But it shows that Rey really wants to keep Finn around. She likes him. Maybe she doesn't know why. I think she just wants to become part of an adventure, and I love that part of her.
And the thing that we didn't even mention here is that Finn had told him that he's part of the Resistance.
Yeah.
She knew about the Resistance and what that was. She heard rumors about it. So I think already she was like already looking up to him. Was like, oh wow, like you're with the Resistance. I want to go with you because we need to help them now. And so that's what she wanted to do. She told the droid that they would get it to somebody at the Resistance. So that's where we're at right now. And
I mean, it was kind of cool how when they showed the day in the life of the scavenger, of course, Rey, she had some like Luke Skywalker gear, it looked like, a little doll, a helmet, so she clearly wants to be part of the good fight.
Yeah, exactly.
And hoping to be part of that with Finn. And now Han Solo, she's geeked up. We do see later on in the movie she's contemplating going back to Jakku because she's waiting for her family for some reason. Not sure who her family is at this point.
Yeah, and one thing about that, I think they only mentioned her father, like, because Kylo Ren, when he has a scene with her, he says, he ends up reading her mind, and he's like waiting for a father that never returns. So that's kind of interesting there too. I mean, because at this point we're kind of thinking it's Luke's daughter, so maybe that's why it's only the father left, because we don't know if Luke ever had a woman. Obviously, over the 30 years, I'm sure he could have met somebody, but. So still kind of up in the air of who that father is.
Absolutely. We love Rey. Her character is so genius, but it's certainly open-ended for this point heading into the next movie. Han Solo can tell that these characters are very important, so he wants to help them.
Yeah.
He takes them to this character Maz's bar. It's pretty much the cantina bar for this movie.
Yeah.
He knows that taking him to the Resistance might be a dangerous idea because Kylo Ren and company know that they're on the lookout for the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
So we get to this new character, Maz. The bar itself is definitely a callback, as I said, to the Cantina bar. But Maz, man, you can tell that that's not only an important character now, but she will be going forward as well.
If she made it out alive, we don't know. So that's
good point.
That's still yet to be determined. But she's been around, he said, like 1,000 years. She knows everything. She
reminds me of Yoda a little bit.
Right, she's almost like a female Yoda in this movie. But she knows everything, and they come to a part in the movie where they're all sitting around a table discussing what is going on. And this is pretty epic scene here because this is kind of where we see a little bit of a split between our two main characters so far, Finn and Rey.
Yeah, Finn has more fears here, and you could tell he's trying to escape. And at the same time, he's been lying a little bit, so he doesn't want Rey to call him out on that. Rey at the same time, that's where Rey has a part where she's trying to escape, but the reason why is because she runs into Luke Skywalker and Luke Skywalker's lightsaber,
right.
and that completely spooks her. I think this is the most mysterious scene of the entire movie because it shows off some things that end up happening and other things that never happen. Of course, we're looking at a picture that has been shown off a lot, clearly showing off most likely Luke's robotic hand there and R2-D2. So does that tell us there's a link already between Rey and Luke? Also, we see Kylo Ren not only fighting her in the snow, which we see later on, but also it looks to be in the rain with a bunch of mysterious figures.
Exactly. Well, I mean, this happens when she gets too close to the lightsaber, and she goes walking down a hallway. She hears some screaming, and she has like a flashback at first. There's a girl crying, screaming, like her parents are leaving her, like she's trying to get away to something. Mm-hmm. And then we see this here. My guess is this scene here that we're looking at right now is probably whatever Kylo Ren did, his destruction. This is probably like Luke, like in disgust, and this is something that's already happened because during this scene, there's some like crazy like voiceovers that are going on, some like spoken word that's going on over this. And that's actually the people that are talking there is Ewan McGregor, who was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the last 3 movies that came out, as well as Alex Guinness, who was the original Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So they had both
3 movies, as well as they also had Frank Oz, who was the original Yoda. All 3 voices can be heard in this, which is very trippy take on this whole movie, because the Kenobis are still a part of the storyline.
Yeah, that's true. They bring them back for the new set of movies, and people want to talk about the Skywalkers always being involved between Anakin, Darth Vader, and Luke. What about the Kenobis? We had Obi-Wan in all 3 of the prequels, hated or love it, and then died in the first movie in A New Hope, but stayed around as that ghostly figure.
And when you said that scene right there, when he died, do you remember how he died? He said he let Darth Vader kill him, and he said, "I will return much stronger than I am today."
Oh, yeah.
And this is kind of interesting because there is a Force Awakens. Something has come back. Is it possible that a Kenobi has come back?
Really, and we still do not know what's going on with Rey. Still some things that happen in this movie. Not only this scene here that we're looking at, but we do eventually have an encounter letting us know maybe Rey has some relation to a Skywalker, but then again, maybe a Kenobi cannot be taken out of play.
Yeah, I mean, to me, these are the 2 leading, it's got to go either way. And it would be interesting because if you think about it, you look at the 6 movies so far, Obi-Wan Kenobi has been the one that is constantly doing the right thing, bailing out Anakin Skywalker, obviously trained Luke Skywalker and helped him out as well. Obi-Wan Kenobi has been to me, the best Jedi so far of the movies because, look at the Skywalkers. Anakin turns bad, becomes Darth Vader. Look at Luke. He's had problems. He almost turned bad. He's
a bit of a shadowy figure in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and we don't know what's happened in the past 30 years. We get some explanation a little farther. We'll get into it. But this scene here, to me, once I found out that, they brought in these guys to do these voiceovers, and they brought in the original guys that played Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the fact that Rey has an English accent, which is only portrayed in Star Wars through Obi-Wan Kenobi, leads me to think, because we're like, we were saying before, did Luke hook up with some, English-speaking woman? Because why does Rey have that accent? So it's hard to, that would be really weird, because everything else is pointing that this is Luke's daughter, but maybe Luke never had a kid.
I have no idea who Luke's love interest would be. He knows very well. He's kind of forbidden from love as Anakin was.
Yeah.
So did Luke give in to temptations as well?
Maybe that's what spurred what's happened, and this is why the dark side has risen again.
Yeah, eventually we will find out what's going on. I'm assuming in the next movie.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of answers from this dream sequence, we'll call it, that are still to come. I think it's a bit interesting how when she walks through the door, you can see it's kind of deadlocked, and then boop, it unlocks for her. She was meant to grab that lightsaber, Now, that said, she wants no part of it. She's spooked by this.
Scared the shit out of
She
her,
tells Maz to hold on to it after Maz tries to give it to her, and then she flees. So you have Finn fleeing, her fleeing, and that's the first time when you have the New Order coming through, wiping out the place.
That's when the shitstorm happens.
Exactly. And when seeing that, both of them they realize, hey, I got to return. Finn's worried about Rey. Rey's worried about Finn. It doesn't matter because it's too late. The New Order takes over. We do have some cool fight scenes. Obviously, Finn gets into a battle with this crazy stormtrooper.
Yeah, he's got like
with a wand of sorts, and we see Finn
wand.
For the first time do battle with the lightsaber.
Yeah, he has lightsaber, and that's the interesting thing because I mean I might be wrong here, but I always thought that only Jedi's because that's the only we've seen. Jedi's could control a lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, Finn's like, they give it to Finn. Finn takes lightsaber, and he goes and fights, and he's using it, and he's using it pretty decent for a guy that's never used one before. So he almost seems like a natural at it. So there's some. Yeah, that's the first time I was like, well, maybe something's up here with Finn because how's he using a lightsaber, and then how's he was doing pretty good with it. But we see a return here at this scene. The Resistance comes flying in, and we see a pilot that is ultimately destroying shit and actually saves, I think, Han Solo and Finn on the ground at the same time.
Yeah, and that pilot is Poe. This is the epic return of Poe. Poe is shown off kicking some serious ass. I think he kills like 7 or 8 TIE fighters in one scene as Finn watches from ground level. And then at the same time, you have an encounter for the first time between Kylo Ren and Rey.
Epic scene.
Rey is pretty much just running for the most part. Kylo Ren finally catches up to her and freezes her. Another kind of first-time ability we've seen from Kylo Ren.
Yeah, she tries to shoot him right off the bat, and he freezes that shit, and then he's like, "You're not moving."
Mm-hmm. And I think that at this point, we think Kylo Ren might be the most powerful force for the bad guys that we've seen yet. Maybe even more powerful than Darth Vader. We learn later on that he still has a lot more to go. But that said...
Yeah, at this point, he seems that he is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
He seems unstoppable.
Yeah, exactly. So, it grabs her for the first time, and... it starts talking to her. It's the first time we're seeing these two interact.
You can tell he's very
frozen
intrigued.
And she can't move or talk or anything.
Mm-hmm. He then knocks her out unconscious and brings her back to what we learn is the new Death Star, the Star Killer base. You have Han Solo, Finn, and company seeing that she's being held captive. So they all leave to meet up with Princess Leia and the Resistance for the first time. These guys break out the information that they have on the new Star Killer base. And this part, a little bit weird, Kyle. Han Solo says, yeah, it's much bigger. We know that. There's always a way to blow it up. They come out with some kind of zany plan where they can head to the Star Killer base, knock out the defense, blow up what needs to be blown up to ignite an entire explosion.
Now, I mean, what happens here with this new Death Star planet, which is much bigger than the original Death Star, they suck power out of a sun, and they use that sun for a new laser blaster.
Yeah.
And actually, when they're there with the Resistance, there's another planet in their solar system, I guess, that's where the Republic is or whatever.
The Resistance, whatever you want to call them now, yeah.
And they absolutely destroy that whole planet with this new laser technology they have. So,
unfortunately, we had no relationship to this planet at all. We really didn't see much of it other than it getting blown up.
So one side we got to go into here at this point, which is an interesting part of the movie, is the actual introduction of the Supreme Leader.
Supreme Leader Snoke.
Snoke.
Well, that happens... Well, we kind of get Supreme Leader Snoke, but at the same time, the one cool part about that scene, or at least one of them, where we see Snoke, as well as Kylo Ren and the General of the new Stormtrooper Nazi-esque regime. But it's because Han Solo... we have Kylo Ren reading the mind, or at least trying to read the mind of Rey. Rey turns it around and then goes to Supreme Leader Snoke, at least Kylo Ren does, to tell him that, hey, something's going on with Rey here. At that moment, we also learn in a kind of a nondescript way that Kylo Ren is indeed Han Solo's son, by Supreme Leader Snoke saying that to Kylo. Interesting.
Yeah, and I mean that's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, you go back to the epic scene between Kylo Ren and Rey. He's trying to read her mind, much like he did Poe earlier.
Yeah.
You know, Poe wasn't going to break, but it didn't matter. His force was too strong. He was able to get into his memories and pull it out of him. Tries doing the same thing with Rey, and this is where we start to see how powerful Rey could possibly be, because he can't break her, and actually she fucking reverses it on him and actually reads his fears, which is that he can never be like Darth Vader. And
that puts him in a panic in a way.
Exactly, and he freaks out and he storms out. Well, she's also standing, and she's also, you know, she's hooked up to this machine thing. She can't get out, and there's a stormtrooper by the door. And all of a sudden, she just has the idea to try to control the stormtrooper and get her to do what she wants him to do.
Not sure where she got this idea. She has some crazy intuition. One little known fact: did you know the stormtrooper that she, you know, force mind tricks, does the old school Jedi mind trick to, and then even gets him to leave his gun? That stormtrooper is played by none other than James Bond himself, Daniel Craig.
Nah.
Yes, that is Daniel Craig.
He got in the movie and played
the stormtrooper, yeah.
Wow.
So in comical fashion, after learning, or at least not learning, but talking to Supreme Leader Snoke about Han Solo, not bothering him, he at least says for now, he comes back to the chamber where Rey was being held captive, only to find out she is gone.
Yeah.
That's where he goes into another panic and freaks out, lightsabers the place up.
Yeah, and so at the same time when he goes in with Snoke and the other general guy, I don't even remember what his name was in this movie.
I forget.
But you know, he is telling him about her and that she's escaped, and telling how much, you know, that she has the Force and she's learning it and she's only going to get stronger. And at that time, that's when they decide with the other general, he's like, well, we can blow up the Resistance planet right now. So they decide to do that. They start sucking energy out of a sun, and they're going to blow us up. So, you know, sense of urgency is on, because they got to blow this damn thing up before the planet that the Resistance is on gets blown up.
And guys, stay tuned here at Trippy Commentaries, because we also have to do some prediction videos and talk about perhaps some theories of things that could happen in Star Wars Episode 8. One thing, I mean, this general guy we're talking about, he's the red-headed Hitler-esque general for the stormtroopers,
blonde, blue-eyed
and
guy.
the New Order. Will Kylo Ren kill off this character at some point?
I think so. You can already tell they're both like trying to one up each other constantly.
Exactly.
But I don't know if he. I don't know. I'm sure eventually he probably will. But not right now. Obviously, he's still very much under the influence of the Supreme Leader, who is a character that was my only thing about this movie is they just, here's this fucking huge looking thing. What the hell is this? They're calling him the Supreme Leader, and
they were showing off it was holographic, so it wasn't currently at the Starkiller base.
Right, and then we hear a little bit about the past, that he ended up turning Kylo Ren to the dark side when Luke was the one who was mentoring him, when we have this scene between Han Solo
and that's cloudy as well.
And it's cloudy. They're just briefly talking about, like, oh, you know, we lost him, and Han Solo the whole time is like, look, he's far gone. Like, I don't think he's not our son anymore. Princess Leia still feels that she has a chance that she can turn him into being
I thought Han Solo thought
back to being Ben.
You know, it's one of those weird things. Han Solo, in a way, maybe had hope, but probably deep down knows there is no hope, because he knows the power of the Force.
I think Han Solo knew what was going to happen. He knew, because like he kind of had that weird look on his face the whole time, and he knew that he was eventually going to come across Kylo, and it probably was not going to be good. He
seemed worried. It was almost as if someone told him, like, hey, your son runs the bad guys now. You're not going to last too much longer.
I mean, he knew Darth Vader as well and how evil he was. And now we know that Ben Solo was his name, is the grandson of Darth Vader. And that's what Han Solo kept saying. He had too much Vader in him. And, you know, that's true. That could easily pass down. But that's where we finally get a little bit of history on what was going on. We find out that she sent Ben Solo away with Luke Skywalker to try to bring him into the light and really teach him the right way. Somehow, while he's over there, there's also Supreme Leader Snoke who's there influencing him at the same time. Something bad happens. Kylo Ren becomes Ben Solo becomes Kylo Ren, and the dark side becomes the ultimate power in the universe. And for some reason, Luke goes hiding on some island. So we don't know what's happened yet.
We know Kylo Ren went off to join the Knights of the Ren, and we talked about that flashback scene with Rey. Those guys in the rainy scene where Kylo Ren seemed to kill off some people. Those people that were on his side could very well have been the Knights of Ren.
That's what it looks like.
Maybe Rey has connections to that as well, even though she was very young at the time. Of course, more unanswered questions.
I think that was a vision in the future. So I think he's gonna form the Knights of Ren. I think that's gonna be kind of maybe his new thing, and that's gonna be his ultimate power going forward. Is him with these guys that are also pretty skilled fighters as well. Pretty much leading the dark side under probably Supreme Leader Snoke's directive.
That would be crazy if they had almost a Kill Bill-esque aspect where now all of a sudden Rey, playing the part of Uma Thurman, must go and take out all of these different Knights of Ren.
And maybe that's something that she's gonna have to do, and she's gonna have to defeat every one of these, and obviously Kylo Ren will be eventually the leader. Final one. But so we go to the new planet, the new Death Star.
The new Starkiller Base,
Starkiller Base.
Oh yeah.
For the final epic showdown between all the characters, really.
Yeah, I think the big reason why Han Solo wanted to go to that Starkiller Base, not only to save Rey, but to encounter his son, Kylo Ren. So Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Finn head towards the Starkiller Base at light speed to penetrate the defense. So they make it onto the planet and infiltrate the base, meeting up with Captain Phasma, who gets them to the section of the base they need to get to. It's a little bit unbelievable the way they're able to get through the entire army of stormtroopers.
Yeah, and that's where we find out that Finn was actually working in sanitation. He actually had no idea how to take out the Death Star Killer base, or Death Killer base, whatever the fuck they call it. Star Killer base. He has no idea. He just said that to get up to the planet to try to save Rey. He's apparently in love with her at this point. And
something like that.
So now Han Solo's like, "Are you kidding me?" There's a funny scene in there where he's like, where Finn's like, "Can't we just use the Force?" And Han's like, "That's not how it works." And
then Chewbacca complains about being cold.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a pretty funny scene there, but they eventually get inside of the Starkiller base, and they're
fight their way through.
Pretty much trying to find Rey at this point.
Yeah, and of course they find her already escaped, climbing around on the walls. They're thinking, "Oh my goodness, she's a damsel in distress." No, a little bit different than Princess Leia. She escaped and she's getting things done.
Yeah.
I guess using her Force intuition. Eventually they are able to get the explosion off inside this unprotected region for some reason. I mean, eventually Kylo Ren and some other troopers come in and go on patrol. But they're able to put all these explosives around and get the explosion off eventually. There's something that happens before that to drop the forces. You have Poe and the X-Wing crew at work, and they're doing a good job. It looks a lot like some of the fight scenes at the Death Star 1 and 2. So they're doing the same thing there. We have the same vibes as the crew gets the job done inside the base.
Yeah, well, but they're having a problem. They're shooting it, but it's not doing anything. They thought they could shoot at these reactors and get them to blow up and blow the actual Starkiller planet up, but it's not working for them. And this brings us to probably one of the biggest scenes of the movie, the face-off between Han Solo and his son Kylo Ren.
It's really picturesque how they do it. It's almost artsy. They have this light coming through because at the same time as Han Solo yells out, "Ben!" and then walks down this long bridge to confront his son, you have Finn and Rey walking through a door. It opens up a window, basically a light that shines down on these guys. Yeah. Chewbacca also watching, and it's a little bit cryptic. It looks as if maybe Kylo Ren is saying that, "Hey, this is killing me to join the dark side. I don't know how to get out of this."
Yeah, and with that light thing you're talking about, the planet or the sun that's in the background, that's the sun that's getting the Force sucked out, or it's getting all its power sucked out of it. So it is getting darker and darker.
Getting ready to destroy the Resistance base.
Exactly. So you got a lot of symbolism going on there. Like you said, they open up the thing. There's the light, and you have Han Solo and Kylo Ren having a discussion, almost father son. He gets him to take off his mask. He's talking to him. You kind of see, and this is where a lot of people complain about Kylo Ren. They're like, "Oh, he's a bitch" and all this stuff. And it's like, well, you kind of see, the emotion side of Kylo Ren of he's still pretty young, trying to be like this ultimate power, but he's still struggling with some of the good Force through his mother, I guess you could say. Some of the light is still in him. And he says he struggles with it every day. There's another scene earlier in the movie where he's looking at Darth Vader's crushed helmet, and he's trying to, he's pretty much doubting himself. He's like, I don't know if I'm, as strong as you were. I'm going to try to do everything I can to finish what you started.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this point, you're thinking that maybe, because Princess Leia feels that there's a chance that because Han Solo is his father, he has a chance to get him to come back to light. And for a minute there, it looks like he might be getting him to go over to the light. Yeah. It looks like he's going to hand him his lightsaber.
Instead, right when the lightsaber gets into Han Solo's hands, he pretty much just puts it right there into...
Well, right before that happens, there's an awesome scene. I love how they filmed it. That star pretty much goes dark. And as it happens, that shadow, where the light was shining on the two of them, there's a shadow that goes over, and it gets completely dark. And at that scene right there, that's when Kylo Ren starts holding on to lightsaber and tighter, and then all of a sudden, just turns it on right into Han Solo's stomach. And
perfect timing.
Kills his father, and pretty much there's a discussion there between the two of them where he says, he's like, "Help me, Father," and Han Solo's like, "I'll do anything for you." And pretty much that's what Kylo Ren needed. He needed to get rid of Han Solo because that was his weakness. You could tell, like, when he was talking to him, he was crying pretty much. Han Solo was his weakness. Now he can try to focus and be that true evil power.
Yeah, Han Solo's done gotta. Kylo Ren feels like this is the time to end off the fight. He ends off Han Solo.
Yeah.
He's about to get the map to Luke Skywalker. There's only one more thing to do other than that, and that is end off this mysterious female character. He chases her down, and then they have the encounter in the woods. Of course, Finn is still with her at this time. So Finn starts off with the lightsaber, and it looks like the epic showdown is going to be between the stormtrooper who betrayed Kylo Ren.
Yep.
That doesn't make too much sense.
Yeah, this is the first time we see the two of them, and Kylo Ren knows exactly who he is, and he calls him a traitor. I think he's yelling at him. But another thing to point out, Chewbacca obviously sees Han Solo die, gets pissed off. He's got that crossbow laser thing, shoots Kylo Ren with it, and that thing was blowing people up earlier.
They showed off that it's extremely powerful.
Very powerful. Hits Kylo Ren right in the side of it, does good amount of damage to him.
Yeah, it's got to.
Yep.
I don't care how powerful you are. So it looked like Finn was keeping up with Kylo at first, got in the shot. At that point, Kylo was like, fuck this, tore up Finn, and looked like he was going to win the battle as the lightsaber was dropped. It was there for the taking, and Kylo was about to get Luke Skywalker's lightsaber.
He was trying. He was trying to use the Force to get it.
Someone else was trying too. So what were you thinking at this moment? What was going to happen with the lightsaber?
Well, I mean, we see Kylo Ren's obviously trying to pull it towards him. We see it jiggling there, and then all of a sudden it goes flying past him and goes to Rey's hand. And at that moment right there, to me, that part of the movie showed that because she is, a pure, she's purely, the light. She's on the light side of the Force, and she's doing this out of pure trying to stay alive. You look at Kylo Ren, he's been fighting a lot of things. I don't think he's as pure of a Jedi as you see with Rey. Now, whether she's Obi-Wan Kenobi's daughter or she's Luke's daughter, I think the Force would be much stronger with her, and we see that at this moment because she takes control of that lightsaber, and looks like she gets a little confidence all of a sudden. She's like, holy shit, like, I can't believe I just did that. Maybe I'm stronger than I think I am. And that's when we have the epic battle between possible cousins, Kylo Ren and Rey.
When it comes to Kylo Ren, too, I thought this was cool how we've heard that Princess Leia has the Force, but we never seen her actually use it, so we wonder how strong it is within her. Well, now we do see that she has part of the Force with Kylo Ren, because that is how Kylo Ren is able to use it himself, because whatever she had,
yeah. Well,
he
she
takes
just
that
never
from her.
did Jedi training, so she didn't learn how to become a Jedi.
She didn't show any Force
Right.
powers at all.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it was in her and was passed down.
Sure. So we do have the battle ensue between Kylo Ren and Rey finally, and at first it looked to be an even match, but shortly after that you start to have Rey kind of pecking away. I think something happened where she got even more powerful, even more Force aware, to where she took out Kylo Ren. Now, because Ren was shot with the crossbow, he is not full power.
Yeah,
that's another reason why Rey was able to get the upper hand.
There's an epic scene there. Well, I mean, he starts kind of overpowering her. He knocks her down, and then he goes in pretty much for the kill, and she's blocking him, and they almost get like face to face. And he's telling her, like, he's trying to convince her to come over to his side. He's like, I can train you, and he mentions that she has the Force. And at that moment, she has like a realization that, wow, I do have the Force.
Yeah.
I need to use this. And they did an awesome part of the movie there where like her face, like she almost gets like completely like peaceful and like very calm. And then all of a sudden she just, she found a way to harness the Force and use it. Starts whooping the shit out of Kylo Ren. Gets him across the face with a lightsaber and like I think across his chest. Knocks him down. Probably going to go in for the kill. But then the damn planet starts ripping apart because, on the flip side, you've got
Poe Dameron and
the
company.
hero of the hero of the fucking day.
Yeah, they get the shot in, and it's another one of those scenes where it shows Poe doing exactly what he needs to get done, shooting the exact spot to start up the ignition. Of course, this is following the explosion set off by Chewbacca after seeing Han Solo die.
Yeah.
He ignites all the bombs, which loosens that up for the X-Wing crew. They get the shot in. Next thing you know it, Starkiller Base is blowing up a la Death Star 1 and 2. And that causes the entire Earth, in this case, Starkiller ground to split. And Kylo Ren does escape, as Rey was really seriously kicking some ass. I think we saw that she was the more powerful character. Now, is that because Kylo Ren was injured? Is it because he needs more training? That we'll find that out. I will say though, real quickly, the last time we saw Kylo Ren, he was out his lightsaber that was destroyed, cut in half by Rey, and he's also without a helmet. He left that helmet behind on the bridge and approached the two other characters with no helmet on.
And now he's gonna have a pretty nasty scar across his face too. So he's definitely gonna bring the helmet back if he has to have another one made. Because now he's going to have that nasty scar. He's definitely going to want to wear the helmet. Plus, he wants to be like Darth Vader, so he's going to wear the helmet regardless. And, I mean, I think what we really saw there, it kind of was just... I believe that in these movies, there's that constant thing with the universe. There has to be a balance in the universe of the light and the dark. And at that point there, it was almost like the universe reacting and giving Rey the power at that moment to be able to fight back and possibly destroy Kylo Ren. I don't think if like the two of them met the next day, I don't think it works out the same.
True.
But in that situation, the light gave her the power to be able to get away from him. And at that point, we also see the Supreme Leader telling that other general, get Kylo Ren out of here. It's time to start his final training.
Yeah, Captain Phasma was stuffed, I guess, in a trash compactor, just like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Chewbacca, of course, from A New Hope. She apparently escapes. You have Kylo Ren, Captain Phasma, the General escaping. Supreme Leader Snoke was somewhat of a hologram, as we said, so he was out of there quick. And that's the end of the day. I guess they saved it for now. They blew up the Death Star. I guess it looked like Finn is maybe in a coma or something, but he's carried out.
He got fucked up.
Yeah, they do see Chewbacca trying to escape in the Millennium Falcon. They were able to get his attention, so that way the three of them could escape together. Of course, without Han Solo, who's now dead.
I mean, they've pretty much destroyed the New Order, and I think you made a good point about that kind of future vision of Kylo Ren. Those could be the Knights of Ren, and that could be what the new Force is going to be. It's the Knights of Ren. It's no longer the New Order, because first New Order has been destroyed for the most part. You just have the General Kylo Ren and Supreme Leader Snoke, who are pretty much left
And don't forget
for the
about
dark
Captain
side.
Phasma.
Captain Phasma. So you've got them. That's what's left of the dark side because their whole planet's been destroyed.
Yep, so Rey returns to the planet to meet up with Princess Leia. Unfortunately, I'm sure give the information that Han Solo did not make it. Poe parties hard, I'm sure, as he saves the day. And finally, R2-D2 magically turns on. It turns out R2-D2 has the missing portion of the MacGuffin, the map, to Luke Skywalker, and the map is exposed. Rey can send herself off with Chewbacca, and R2-D2. BB-8 stays with Poe, so we'll see what kind of zany adventures they get into in the next movie.
Yeah.
But
that scene there kind of brings me back to thinking that she is Luke's daughter because she comes to the planet, she gets close to R2-D2, and he all of a sudden wakes up. Now, whether he wakes up because maybe Kylo Ren has fled, or maybe he knew this was already going to happen, I don't know. We don't even know that. But I think the presence of her being there, he knows who she is somehow, and he turns on. And we have a pretty epic scene here at the end, whether it's, father-daughter, or if it's, Luke Skywalker with Kenobi's granddaughter. It could possibly be.
I really like how Princess Leia, the final words to Rey before they head out in the Millennium Falcon are, "May the Force be with you."
Yep.
Rey ends up at this beautiful island and meets up with Luke Skywalker to return his lightsaber.
Epic scene.
Not sure how Maz got it to begin with. I'm sure we'll find out. But we do not know what the link is between these two characters, if any. She could be his daughter or something else entirely.
It would almost seem that way just because of the way this scene ends, man. They're both looking at each other. He's kind of like tearing up a little bit when he sees her.
Yeah.
She's tearing up as well, like she can feel it. I mean, it just almost seems the way. The Kenobi thing is an interesting spin on it. It would be a crazy spin if they, in fact, made it that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things pointing to looking like that, so they're really keeping us torn on who exactly she is. Because it could be that he also had a relationship with her when she was little, possibly raising it maybe because Obi-Wan Kenobi for like 30 years kind of disappeared, and then came back. So maybe he had a son during that time who didn't know he had the Force, and then somehow she's born, and maybe Luke is the one that takes her and brings her to Jakku, where she was staying at. So
I mean, you think that Han Solo and Princess Leia would have some familiarity with her. It seems like when they do interact with her, they're, they have a connection, but they don't know who she is.
Well, you also got to remember that they sent Ben Solo away with Luke Skywalker, so they were nowhere around Luke Skywalker during that whole time. So we don't. Yeah. I mean, it looks like probably Ben Solo is probably older than Rey is. So, we don't know what age he was when they sent him to Luke Skywalker or what was going on. So, still a lot of things to be answered. But, this really makes you want to see the next movie. They really ended this off right because you have now the Supreme Dark Force, and Kylo Ren is now being trained by the Supreme Leader.
Going into further training.
His final training to be, the ultimate, because they know it's right now. He's good. His dad's dead. He can do what he needs to do now.
Finn, I guess, is in a coma, so we'll see what becomes of him.
Right.
And
he's probably going to be a Resistance fighter, probably along with Poe
Dameron. Maybe those guys teaming up once again.
Exactly.
And we have Rey seemingly going through her own preparations to become a Jedi Master with Luke Skywalker, but once again, we're not positive. Hell, I remember in Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker was always in all black. He was giving out a lot of dark vibes. It almost seemed like he was on the edge of becoming perhaps a member of the evil crew there with Darth Vader and the Emperor. Yeah. Instead, he decides to save the day with the help of his father, Darth Vader. So we're not completely sure of Luke Skywalker's intentions. I mean, is he still the hero, or has stuff happened to him to scar him a little bit? We'll find out as he's now training Rey, or at least doing something with her.
This could be the return of Luke. Maybe the two of them, he trains her, and then the two of them go after Kylo Ren and possibly the Knights of Ren.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of speculating to do, but as far as this movie is concerned, it was awesome. A lot of good things to talk about. Some things we didn't even mention. The characters were phenomenal. The soundtrack was great. The storyline was classic Star Wars. And I think everybody's going to be even more excited to see the next one than they were to see The Force Awakens.
And that's the thing. And the biggest argument I hear about this movie, the biggest gripe people have is, oh, storyline's really similar to the first one. Well, it's like, or people are saying it lacks storyline. It's like, look, this is one part of a 9-part whole story. So, yes, it might not have covered everything that it needed to because they want to leave that still to mystery. It's still to be discovered in the next movie. If this was the first time you ever saw Star Wars, any Star Wars movie, then yeah, I could see how some stuff is like, well, I don't even know really what's going on here. But that's your fault. This is 1 out of 9, and if you haven't seen the other movies, don't bother seeing these ones because it's not, you're not going to get a lot of things. But and then even when I say that, I know people that really they've seen the other ones, they know what's going on. But they weren't really into them that saw this movie, and they liked it. The
sense of humor and the characters drive this movie. I think anybody would love it just for characters like BB-8 alone.
Yeah, exactly. So, I get some of the gripes, but overall I think it was 100 times better than the last 3 that came out. So,
does the series justice. Maybe a little bit too much fan service, but it is a reboot technically in a way.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think
props to J.J. Abrams, man.
Much like how Empire Strikes Back really took the series in a very serious direction after A New Hope, I think the next movie in the series is going to do the same way. It'll still have the same great sense of humor, but we're going to see an even more powerful Kylo Ren. And Rey, she was the most powerful character from this movie. At the end of the movie, she had a lot of power, and you could tell she could maybe be the most powerful hero and the most powerful Jedi that we've ever seen.
I think that's very possible.
Thanks again for joining us, guys. Let us know what you think of Star Wars The Force Awakens. Stay tuned. We'll be bringing you theories, more reviews of different movies as well, a bunch of movie coverage, as I think not only is Star Wars back in the limelight, but movies are going to be epic in 2016. Catch you guys next time. I'm RJ for KMAC. Stay tuned. And as always, stay trippy, my friends.